Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are broadcasting live here in Bresnan Arena inside the Taylor Center on the campus of Minnesota State University Mankato. Today's matchup is Minnesota State versus the University of Mary. University of Mary comes in with a record of 3-15 with an NSIC record of 0-10. Minnesota State comes in the afternoon at 12-6 with a conference record of 5-5. And this afternoon, Mavericks are looking to set forth as the Marauders of University of Mary, and back to serve is Brianna Donarski. Sorry for the delay, but they had some technical difficulties. As she serves over the net, Quam. And then the kill by number 10, Morgan Olsen. And that's a great way to start it off for the Mavericks as they go up 1-0 here. And back to serve is number 5, Olivia Garby. And as we're looking here today, this is not the only game here in the NSIC conference this afternoon, as we are looking here at women's volleyball. Other games that are starting today: Minnesota Crookston versus Wayne State College. Also, Minnesota Duluth is in Sioux Falls taking on the University of Sioux Falls, as that's a point for Minnesota State. And we look around here as Minnesota State University Moorhead goes to Fayette, Iowa to take on Upper Iowa University. Then St. Cloud State versus Southwest Minnesota State University in Marshall. And then this game we got right here. And then later on this afternoon, Bemidji State goes to Sioux Falls, South Dakota to take on Augustana University. And Minot State goes to St. Paul to take on Concordia University St. Paul. Northern State, as that's a point for the Marauders, and they put it within 1 here early in this first set. Northern State takes on Winona State. And the last 3 games, Bemidji State and to Winona State, all start at 5 p.m. And there's the tip, and that's a point for Mavericks, as Anissa Janzig was there to get that point there for Minnesota State. As Mara Quam is back for Mankato. And there it is. Quam keeps it alive with the dive as it looks for the soft touch, but that's a no-go. And that's blocked up there at the front line by Lee, and Lee sends it back to give the Mavericks a 3-point lead. As Mavericks are here off to a hot start. There's Quam right there with the ace as they try to decide to let it go, but Brianna Donarski tried to hit it back, but it just got her tied up. And Quam with the soft serve, and that's another ace. Quam's second in a row as that throws the Mavericks up 6-1 here early in this first set, and doesn't show any signs of cooling down as the fans are getting into it here with the t-shirt toss. I mean, I'd get excited too about free stuff. And try it with the soft touch. Quam keeps it alive with the dive. And here it is. They tried to kill but kept it alive by number 10, Morgan Olsen. And there it is. That's a point from Lee. And that's a timeout here by the University of Mary. Head coach, University of Mary is coached by Corey Tetzloff, with the assistant coaches Abby Pollard, Kayla Ruff, Melissa Anderson, and Sienna Bosch. And then the head coaches for Minnesota State, your head coach is Lori Rittenhouse-Wolmuth. The assistant coach is Joe Klein, and the graduate assistant is Sabrina Gonzalez. And I think that was a good timeout by the University of Mary, as Minnesota State was gaining a lot of confidence, and I don't think that Rittenhouse-Wolmuth had a lot to say during that huddle, as it seems like she's got her girls ready and rolling here early in this first set. And the biggest key for Minnesota State is they've come out here in the first set always, and they've showed a lot of poise and under control and a lot of demeanor to keep that up. And they come out really hard in that first set, and they give them something to think about. But then when it comes down to that second, third, and fourth sets, they seem to struggle a little bit more. So this afternoon, we'll have to see what's going on here with the ladies in purple. As Quam is back to serve for her 5th consecutive point. And there it is. The set and the hit, but kept alive by Donarski. As the set again, Lee tries to finesse it, but that's a no-go as the dive by Natalia Cruz. And there it is again, the soft touch by Morgan Olsen. Gets it again, as that's the Mavericks' 6th consecutive point. And they are rolling here early. And there it is, another ace, the 3rd of her set. And my goodness gracious, this is getting a little weird. I don't think I've ever seen this before, as Quam is just absolutely taking control. The set, as it hits the net, as that goes to a point for the Mavericks on the touching of the net by number 6, Anna Nietfield. As that was short, caught up, and there it is into the hands of Olsen, but Olsen cannot block it and send it back, as that goes off to the side and results in a point for University of Mary. And entering the game for the Marauders, number 3, Cindy Murphy. And as she comes in and goes directly back to serve. And there it is, a miscommunication. And Olivia Garby tries to keep it alive, but nobody was in the vicinity of where she tried to set it. So that results in the first consecutive points here for the Marauders as they pull within 7, as it's 10-3 Minnesota State. And there it is, the kill with absolute authority. And Morgan Olsen has it as both freshmen Lowry and Schindler come into the game for Michaela Porter and Morgan Olsen, as Lowry heads back right away as she gives it a few thousand dribbles, and then she serves it. And there it is, off the hand of Quam, and there it is, Bailey Harms with the point for the Marauders. There's another sub that comes into the game for the Marauders, and that is number 12, Katie Burge. And there it is. Oh, wow. And that's hit by Veldman. And tried to keep it alive is number 4, Natalia Cruz. but it was hit with so much authority on the dive, it goes over the net and out of bounds. Veltman with the ace, as it looked like it could have been long, but they decided to forego that conclusion, and it results in a point for the Mavericks, as they are up early by a wide margin, as it's 13-4. And that is out, as it wasn't touched. And Veltman going back for the 4th consecutive time to get the Mavericks up to a 11-point lead. And that has something to be said by Burge, as she says, "No, thank you. We are done being down by double digits, and we're going to try to climb ourselves back here in this first set." As Bailey Harms is back to serve. Here it is with authority, Garby, and that's tipped, but kept alive by the Marauders. As number 8, Madison Bergholf, is hitting into the hands, and that is a no-go. As they let it in, and it hits the line, and results in 3 consecutive points for the Marauders, as they're slowly creeping back in, as they were within 7. And here we go. Quam with the hit, and there it is, off of a diving cruise, and that goes out of bounds off her hands, and Quam gives the Mavs the ball back. As the serve here for the Mavericks, as Lee drops back to serve. But Lee is coming out, and coming in is Jane Sakowitz, the 5'3" freshman out of Wakanda, Illinois. The set kept alive by Sakowitz, and Garby with it, and it's tipped, and that results in a point as it goes out of bounds. Trying to save it as a diver Marauder, but she comes up short. And the diving Marauder there was Giovanna Almada, as she is from the country Brazil. And there's that, as Berg comes in with authority and gets the Marauders back on the board. As she cuts it in half, 16-8, the score here in favor of the Minnesota State University Mankato Mavericks. Back to serve is Brittany Brusvin. Brittany's a true freshman from Shelby, Montana. And that attempted block comes up short as it's tipped by Schindler, and that goes out. It results in a point here for the Marauders. Lowry with the set to Schindler, freshman to freshman. That's tipped by Quam, but nothing comes up of it as it's blocked. And that's point Marauders as they're within 6. As the Marauders here are looking for their longer stretch of consecutive points. As Garby tries to finesse it, that goes out. Cruz keeps it in, and it goes over the net. Here's Lowry to Janzig. And that results in a point for Minnesota State. As the Marauders were looking for consecutive points, but nothing of it, as both freshmen come out, and Michaela Porter and Olsen are back in the game here for the gold and the purple. And a set with authority, and that's long, as a result of a point, and it's an 18-10 lead for Minnesota State. As Michaela Porter is back to serve, she gives it 2 dribbles and an over. Quam with the diving stop to her left. There it is, the block by the long arms of Janzig as they had to get that over. And here comes Olsen. Tipped at the net here by the Mavericks as she tries to deceive him, and it gets it over. Michaela Porter tried to pull a fast one, but the Marauders said no. As Giovanna Aldamia, the Brazilian, is just having a whale of a time here on this set, as it is, and Janzig couldn't try to finesse it over the net, and that results in a point. And the Marauders are going to get some fresh legs here into the game as number 9, Brianna Donarski, comes back into the game. As that's a violation here from the Mavericks, which is resulting in a costly point in an effort to try to extend the lead here for the Mavericks, as it's 18-11 in favor of the Mavericks, but we'll see what happens here if this rally can attest to anything for the Mavericks. And the long arms up front for the Mavericks are trying to do something. That is hitting the net, and that resulted in a point for the Mavericks. And back to serve is Olivia Garby for the second time here in this opening set. And there it is. Quam keeps it alive, and Veldman is just wide to the left side. Oh, excuse me, they gave it to him. And it stayed inbounds as it hit the line, apparently. And that is long, too, as Anna Nietfeld, the junior out of St. Michael, Minnesota, tried to have something to say about that. But that is a timeout in the second of this half for the Marauders, as Minnesota State here in this first set is off to a commanding lead and an absolute wallop of a start, as they are up 9 with 4 points to go here in this first set. And as we take a look here at the impact of Mavericks, Morgan Olsen leads the Mavericks with a team best 284 kills and a .405 attacking percentage. Then we go on to Mara Quam, has completed 319 digs to begin the year, and that's in the first 18 games of the season. And Michaela Porter leads the team in assists with 421. As a team, Minnesota State has posted a 13.5 kills per set in comparison to its opponents at 11.8 per set. Additionally, the Mavericks add 13 assists to the opponents per set and 14.1 digs per set for their side. As Garby, continuing her time to serve, is back and throws it over, and that is long and wide to the right side, as it was a good idea by Natalia Cruz to let that one be. As a native Brazilian is back to serve for the Marauders. As there was no jump for her, as she just clearly hits it over, and that was a touch by Olsen, by Janzig, and that caught the Marauders off guard as it sends Quam back to serve. And the last time she was serving, she served 7 consecutive points for the Mavericks before it was ended, which gave them out to a 10-point lead in that first set. As Garby to the floor, and Veldman has hers blocked by number 15, Bailey Harms for the Marauders. As Netfeld and Brusvin take a seat, here comes to serve is Sydney Murphy. She's a sophomore from Bismarck, North Dakota. She didn't have to go far for school. As Veldman tries to do something with authority, and that's tipped and kept alive. And that is long, not touched by the purple and gold. And that is wide right. And they are 2 points away here from taking this opening set from the Marauders. As a freshman, Lowry tries to put this opening set here away, as she only needs 2 points to give it a 1-0 set lead to the Mavericks. As Quam tries to save it, but that's out. That results in a point, as the Mavericks will have to wait another serve to check this one out. Cruz with the soft serve, as it's a diving save by Garby as she hits the deck. And that's blocked and sent back by Veldman, but kept alive. Here's Veldman again as it hits the net, but goes out of bounds. And that's a costly mistake here, but not too costly, as it only pulls the Marauders here within 7. As Garby hits the deck again, and that's trying to keep alive, and Garby goes down again, and she cannot save it. That's a point again for the Marauders, as Cruz seems to have something on cruise control here for the Marauders as she keeps going and going. And that's long again. That's a veteran move by Garby as Veldman heads back to clinch the set here and put them Mavericks out to a 1-0 lead. And that's kept alive as the set and the hit by Burge is complete, and that results in a point as it went off a Maverick and out of bounds. There's Quam, Lowry, Garby, and there it is. As the Mavericks take that first set, 25-18, as we will take a short break, and I will be back with that first set stats. As we get ready here to start the second set, the ball will be given to, it looks like the Mavericks here, as it's a serve. As we look here at some of the stats, the leading scores for the Mavericks are tied at 3 between Morgan Olsen and Mara Quam. As Michaela Porter was back to serve, and that results in a point for the Mavericks. As it's retrieved by Cruz. And Quam with the dive, and that result comes up empty. As it's a point for the Marauders, as it's tied at 1. And we look here at the kills. Morgan Olsen is with 3. Natalia Cruz and Bailey Harms are with 1 for the Marauders. The assists, Michaela Porter is at 6, and Brittany Brusvin is at 2. That's a point for the Mavericks, as Michaela Porter is all of a sudden at 8, Sydney Murphy's at 7, and Lauren Lowry's at 4. As there it is, that's a point for the Mavericks again. And the kills are tied at 3 between Garby, Olsen, and Janzig. Harm and Berg for the Marauders, and Cruz falls down to 3rd. Look at the points. Joey Veldman is leading the Mavericks with 4. And that's long, as that results in a point. And Garby is back to serve yet again. As Cruz goes down to a knee, and that's hit back, and that's sent wide off of the hands of Janzig. That results in a change here for the Marauders, as they are down 2 early. The Marauders here are looking to keep this one close, as the Brazilian tries to keep it in, Almeida, and that has none of it. It results in a point here for Minnesota State. And back to my point, the Marauders got down way early, as it was 14-4 in that first set, as it results in a point for the Mavericks, as it was a violation. As Quam is back. And there it is. Quam keeps it alive as a set, and Garby tries to do a little trickery, but has nothing for it. And Veldman right into the hands of the Marauders. And there it is, as Lee cannot keep it, and that results in a point for University of Mary. As we will come back, in that first set, the Mavericks got out to that 14-4 lead, but it was a huge swing, as the Marauders had a little bit of hope, as they outscored them after that point 14-11. But it led the Mavericks to that first set due to that huge lead that they got early. And this rally continues, as that was a carry by Michaela Porter, which results in a point for University of Mary. As that was Donarski and Veldman, as it's kept alive. And there's Olsen, and she has that one sent back. And that pulls the Marauders within 1. As this set has a little bit of a different feel to it early on, as it was nothing like the first. And Donarski sends it over. And there's Olsen, as that was in. And that gives the ball back to the Mavericks, as the typical switch here for Olsen and Porter comes into the game. Both of the freshmen, Lowry and Schindler. As that sends Lowry back to serve. And here it is. As that's a diving kept in by Lowry, as Ashton Lee tries to send it over. That results in nothing, as it's wide left. As Almeida is back from Mary. She goes with the line drive, and it's kept over. As it hits the net, goes over. Ashton Lee tries to save it, but it goes right back in the net, and that's a tie. That's a tie ball game. As it's 7-all, and the Mavericks here, as it seems like that break has kind of, the girls in purple kind of seem to have lost the mojo, as that's the first lead of the afternoon for the Marauders, and that's given to, thank you to Natalia Cruz. Is that one in the arms, but it went straight down on the side of the Mavericks. As it gets super quiet here, you can hear a pin drop. And there's Schindler, the freshman, and she gives it a tie ball game as the ball goes up the stairs and almost into the trash can. As Joey Veldman is back to serve for the Mavericks. And unlike her counterpart, she'll use the jump serve. There's Garby with authority, hits the net, and a diving stop by the Brazilian Almeida. And there it is. As there's a point violation by the Mavericks. And that gives the lead back to the Marauders. As that's in, as Kwon thought it was long, but that result is nothing, as it gives a point and the largest lead for University of Mary, 10-8. And it's still early here in this second set, and we'll see what the Mavericks can come up with. As that's a soft touch, but that caused some controversy on the side of the Marauders and results in a point. As Janzig and number 3, Jane Sikowski, kept alive by Garver, and nothing. As the lead increases to 2, and Kwon and Ashton Lee come back into the game. As that was quick. Very quick. As we look around the league here at football, the other Mankato State team that is actually in play is Minnesota State. They're taking on Moorhead. That is a timeout by Minnesota State. And it's a 12-9 lead here in the second set for the Marauders. And as I said before, it's the start of the second quarter for the Minnesota State football team. They're in Moorhead, taking on Minnesota State University Moorhead, as it's a 21-0 lead for the Mavericks early in that second quarter. Not too surprising, as they are the heavily favored team in that matchup. And as we look around the league at Maverick volleyball, as Wayne State College made quick work of Minnesota Crookston as they sweep them in that matchup, as Wayne State goes to 15-5 and a conference record of 7-4. And as we take a look in here at Sioux Falls and Minnesota Duluth took that first set early, 25-21, and Sioux Falls is up early in that second set. As we continue to look here at other games, Moorhead and Upper Iowa, as Upper Iowa takes that first set 25-18, just like here, and they are up 13-11 in that second set. As we get back here in action, as Garby has a diving stop by Almeida. Here's Lowry, and the freshman Schindler right back into the net, and she has that sent back. as their lead increases to 4, as the Marauder bench is just going nuts. And Natalia Cruz is the server here for the Marauders, as she looks to continue this rally for them, as that's a smart move by Veldman, as she lets that one go, and it puts that deficit down to 3, as it's 13-10. And one of the things here for Minnesota State, as they look to continue that second set woes, and it continues here as the serving error by Veldman, and that's a point to the Marauders. As Harms is back. And Olsen there gives the point to the Mavericks. And that's a point to the Mavericks. As we look here at points, Morgan Olsen is at 6. Katya Berg is at 5.5 for the Marauders. And it signals a carry on Minnesota State, which results into a point. And the University of Mary goes up 4. As we're looking down the list here, the kills are nothing but the same. It seems like the same leaders, as Morgan Olsen has 6, Garby with 4, and Janzig with 3. As quite a big an effort by Minnesota State, and those diving stops result in nothing, as Quam sends it back over the net, but that is wide right. As Brusen sends it on the net, and that came up on her quickly, as it's from Janzig, and that's a point for Minnesota State, as Quam is back to serve yet again. And there it is, as it tied up Natalia Cruz, and that is another point for the purple and gold. As that got a lot on Garby, as that has some heat on it. And that goes out of bounds. And again, the University of Mary can't seem to get over that 4-point margin, as every time they get it to 4 points, they send it back. And there it is, the tip, as that's blocked. But it goes off the fingertips and wide left, and that's point Mavericks. As here come Lowry and Schindler, as we look at here at the serving aces, as there's quite a bit of margin. Actually, not even quite. It's 6-5 in favor of University of Mary. As Mara Quam has all 3 of the serving aces for Minnesota State, but it came in that early set, as that's a timeout for University of Mary. And as I'm looking here as the service aces, Quam has got 3, and that all came in that first set, but that was when she put the Mavericks out to that 10-point lead in that first set, and that she had 3 service aces. Michaela Porter with 1, and Joey Veldman with 1 as well, as there's 5 tied for the Marauders. Well, excuse me, 4 tied for the Marauders with 1, but the leader is Sydney Murphy, number 3 for the Marauders in service aces. As we look here for the team stats, the hitting percentages are both quite low, as the Mavericks have the slight edge in that, and that's 17.6% compared to the Marauders' flat rate of 13%. And total attacks, Minnesota State is leading 51-46, but the errors are in heavily favor of that, with Minnesota State having 10 to Mary's 8. Kills are in favor of the Mavericks, 19-14. as that's dive kept alive by Lowry. That's sent back over by Garby. And that's hit into the net by Anna Netfeld. As that'll send Lowry back to serve for the Mavericks, as the Mavericks are within one. And another free t-shirt is thrown into the crowds. And here we go. There's a soft touch. Kwam, Lowry, Lee. The native Brazilian keeps it alive for the Marauders. A Schindler with authority. And that's out of, kept alive. That's hit over, and that's out. As that's a tie ball game here. As the Mavericks are battling back and battling those woes. And number 7, Lowry, is back yet again. And the Mavericks here are looking to get back that lead. And number 14, Juliana Hughes, has something to say about that as she finesses it over the lengthy arms of Lee and Schindler to result in a point for the Marauders and give them back that 1-point lead. As Garby keeps it alive, and here's Veldman as she hits it long. And that's a point, Marauders. As that's a timeout for the Mavericks. That's their second of this half. And we look back here at some of the scores around women's volleyball. We'll take a look at St. Cloud State in Marshall, Minnesota, taking on Southwest Minnesota State University. As they are just about to get the second set underway, as St. Cloud State took the first set 25-19. And that is a match to look at as NSIC conference battle, as Southwest Minnesota State University is 8-2 and St. Cloud is 6-4. This will be a huge win for St. Cloud State if they can drop SMSU in that game in Marshall. And we look here at Minnesota State Mavericks at the football game. As we look at other games as well, Minnesota State is up 27-0 in that second quarter. As that is another error, possibly a costly one, as that can give the Mavericks some life here early, or actually late in the second set, but still early in this match. As we are having a question here for the referee, as Corey Tetzloff, coach for University of Mary, is trying to get some explanation from the referee. As he signals Veldman to serve. Kept alive. And there it is. Schindler, Kwam, Garby, finesse, and kept alive, but no. As she thought it was kept alive, but no. As the judge says that, and the Mavericks tie it up at 19 apiece. And we'll take a look here. As that was an attack error, which gave the Mavericks back the ball. But then the result, as two tips, kept alive, and that third one will not result in anything but a point for Minnesota State. The effort on the side of the Marauders is mute, and that results in a point. Here's Veldman. as that's tipped to the ground, out of the reach of Veldman, and it's 20-all. And Sydney Murphy is back to serve for the Marauders. She gives it 3 bounces. Up, bounce up, out. And there we go. And Garby hits it right into the net, as that had nothing to do with the Marauders, as that was just a hitting error from Garby. And those are kind of rare to see, as it gives University of Mary back the lead. Lowry, Lee, and there it is from Lee, as the kill sets that one up, and it ties back the ball game. And here is Jane Sakowitz, Schindler, Lowry, and the tip by Janzig is not fooling the Marauders. Schindler out, point Marauders. Oh, my mistake. As that was point Mavericks, as they said that was in. Timeout in the second one of the set, as the Mavericks take a 22-21 lead. And from up here, it looked like, I don't know, but it's why I'm up here and not down there. And we'll take a look here at some of the stats, as that timeout is probably well needed, as University of Mary is giving back that lead for the Mavericks as they go up 1 very late here in the first set. Let's see if the Mavericks can capitalize and win that second set. As we look at the young talent for Minnesota State of Lauren Lowry and Dana Schindler, the freshmen have contributed 154 digs, 344 assists, 86 kills, and 41 blocks this season. Both are true freshmen, as the freshman Lowry is second on the team with 336 assists, as Schindler is 4th on the team in kills with 80. As the Mavericks send back Jane Sakowitz again. And that's into the net. And that's point Mavericks as it hits the pole, which gives it back a 2-point lead to the Mavericks. As before that 20-19 lead, they had nothing else as that goes into the net. And that is an hitting error from University of Mary. And this is set point for the Mavericks. As the freshman here looks to put it away for the Mavericks against the Marauders and take that 2-0 set lead. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience as we look here at some of the stats, as the points are pretty evenly distributed. But the leaders here from Minnesota State is Morgan Olsen with 8. Olivia Garby and Ashton Lee are tied with 6. Natalia Cruz on the other side for the Marauders has 6. Berg 5.5, and Bailey Harms with 5. And we take a look at kills. Morgan Olsen again with 8. Olivia Garby with 6. Anissa Janzig with 4. And 3 Marauders are tied with 4. We look at the hitting percentages. As Madison Bergthold has a 500 hitting percentage, is a 50% hitting percentage. Morgan Olsen with 46.7. And then we look at assists. Michaela Porter leads all players with 14. And behind her on her team is Lauren Lowry with 10. And then in third is Mara Kwam with 2. Sydney Murphy has 11. Brittany Brusvin has 5. As that opening point goes to the Mavericks, as they're up 1-0. As we continue to look at here, the service aces Mara Kwam adds another one to her total from last set, and that is she's leading all players with 4 as a hitting error right into the net from Madison Bergthold, and that results in another point as the Mavericks take a 2-0 lead. And we look here at the digs. Mara Kwam and Giovanni Almeida have 9 and are leading both, but Olivia Garby has 7. Natalia Cruz has 4. Jane Sakowicz has 3, and Brianna Donarski has got 4. As that's another point for Minnesota State as they go up 3-1. And then we look at total blocks, as it's a little bit of a thing here, as solo blocks are in favor of University of Mary 4-2. As we look here, Juliana Hughes and Katya Berg have 2 apiece. Natalia Cruz is 1, as that's a half. And then Ashton Lee has got both blocks for the Mavericks, as Sydney Murphy hits the deck but hits it right into the net, and she tries to hit it again, and that's a no-no. As the Mavericks go up 4-1 here early, as the Mavericks are up 2-0, as they came back from their woes in that second set to take it 25-22, and another point, and that is in, and that'll send Mara Kwam back again. Here's Kwam with the jump serve. And Garby keeps it alive. Here's Veldman. As that's out and results in a point for the Mavericks. As Kwam is looking to give the Mavericks her fourth straight point, as we are waiting on a Marauder to tie her shoe. And here it is, and there it is. With authority, Katya Berg. Point Marauders as they get their second point of this third set. As for the Marauders, Brittany Brusvin, as we've mentioned her name quite a bit this afternoon, is back to serve. As Veldman with the soft touch, but they'll call a carry on it, as that's a point for the Marauders. As that did touch a Marauder, and I was waiting for a signal as both judges continue to look at each other, and that's a point for Minnesota State, as it did in fact touch someone on the University of Mary's side. As Lowry is back to serve, you see serves it right into the net, as that is a service error for Minnesota State. And that is Brianna Donarski. There's a block, but kept alive by Minnesota State. And that's out. Brittany Brusman got an absolute rocket towards her, and she can't keep her cool as that is sent over the net and out of bounds on the right side. And that'll send Joey Veldman back to serve for the purple and the gold. And Veldman serves hit the net, but it goes over still, as the long reach of Lee results in another point as she sends it right back, and that is a timeout, University of Mary. As the Mavericks take a 9-4 lead here, we will go back to the NIC and take a look around at some of the other volleyball matches that is going on currently, as Minnesota Duluth, with a 15-4 record, is in Sioux Falls taking on University of Sioux Falls, who are 12-6 and who are looking to go even with Minnesota Duluth. But Minnesota Duluth has taken the first two sets 25-21. And Minnesota Duluth is up in that second, is up early, but not by much, as it's 2-1 in that third set. And we'll go ahead and take a look at University of Moorhead in Upper Iowa, as Upper Iowa is leading in what took the first two sets, 25-18 in the first, 25-16 in the second. And they are up by 10 midway through that third set, as they are looking to sweep Minnesota State University Moorhead. As we get back to action here, as Joey Veldman gets the okay to serve. And there it is. As she has to reach, and then she sends it over to Lowry as Garby, and then Cruz. And the block sent back, as that's a point for Minnesota State, as they increase their lead 10-4. And they are looking to close this one and end this match early, as it's that, and that's a service error by Veldman, resulting in a point, as the Mavericks have their lead decrease to 5. As we look here at the Brazilian who served, and that is in, and that decreases it to 4. As the Marauders are seeing a little bit of life here early, and they are trying to get back a lead and at least get back into this match and into this set, as Quam takes the serve, and the diving stop by Almeida. And the whistle's blown, and that results in a point for the Mavericks, as Quam and Lee go have a seat. Janzig and the freshman Sakowitz come back in. As here's Schindler, and that is with a lot of effort and steam, and she hits it long and out. As there is a change here for the Marauders, as number 3 Sydney Murphy comes back into the ball game, along with number 8 Madison Bergthold. Lowry to Schindler, and that is off a Marauder. And that is a point resulting in a Marauder point. And I don't know what happened there, but whatever. Anyway, Schindler with authority trying to get it again, as that is out and right in front of the judge. As he says it was out, and that pulls the Marauders within 2, as that's Schindler's second hitting error, resulting in long here in this rally for the Marauders. Here's Garby. And here's Cruz. And there's Janzig, sends it over but hits the net, and diving stop by Murphy keeps it alive. Here's Garby with authority, and that is in. And that is a point for the Mavericks as we continue here in this third set. And that will send Michaela Porter back for her first time serving here in this third set. As that results in a point for Minnesota State. And that sends it to 13-9. As the fans go crazy again for another free shirt. And I get it, you're a college kid, and anytime you get something free, you get it. And right there, Janzig got a ball hit right in her arms, and she sends it back. As that results in some crowd cheering. And here's Michaela Porter again. As here we go, Janzig, for the second time, gets it hit into her arms, and that hits the net. And that results in a point for Minnesota State, and that results for the second time out in this set for the Marauders, as Coach Labita Tetzloff has had enough and she wants to talk. So as we're looking here as some other games, and I will get you on the football score here for Minnesota State as they are taking on Moorhead for football. I'm going to click here on the live stats as this being 28-7 late in that second quarter. And Moorhead finally got on the board, and we're looking around. Winona State is up 27-0 on the University of Mary. Minnesota Duluth is beating Augustana 15-10 as Northern State beat Concordia St. Paul 35-28. Upper Iowa's got a commanding lead on Minot State 37-9. And then St. Cloud State is clinging on to a 3-point lead over Wayne State midway through that fourth quarter, as Wayne State is down by a field goal. And then we will look here at women's volleyball in a little bit, as it's 15-9, and Michaela Porter has it go off her right hand and out of bounds, and that is a point for the Marauders. As Natalia Cruz is back to serve. Here's the assist by Porter, and that is sent back. And here's Garby just going to send it over. And then Quam drops to a knee and gets it back over. And that is in. And there's Morgan Olsen. As we haven't mentioned her name in quite a bit of time. But that results in a point. And Garby is looking to throw the Mavericks on a little bit of a run here with her serve. As she drops it, and Almeida hits the deck to save it. As here's Porter, and a touch, and then the hit, and that's out of bounds, caused by Olsen's length, touch, and awareness. And that's resulting in a 17-10 lead for the Mavericks. And there it is, the block by Olsen. Quam looking for the assist here. And that's kept alive by Cruz. And that is off the hand of Janzig as that is long. And point Marauders. As Veldman tried to get it there early. Kept alive by Garby. And here's Porter, and she just sends it over, and that is in as she fooled everybody on the Marauders side, resulting in a Mavericks 7-point lead. As here's Quam. And there it is, again, the length of Lee and Olsen are proving to be a little bit of a problem here for the Marauders here in this third set as the crowd gets psyched again for another t-shirt toss. And Veldman tries to do something with it as Quam dives underneath. And that point will resolve in a change for the Marauders. As Brittany Brusvin is back and serves it to Garby. Olsen with authority right back to Brusvin. As here's Olsen again. Off the hands and kept alive. And the whistle blows and results in a point for the Mavericks as they go up here by 8 points. As it's 20-10, and they got 5 points here as they throw in both the freshmen, Lowry and Schindler again, as they prove to be a lethal combo here for the purple and the gold. Lowry Veldman as the dive is kept alive by Almeida. And here's Lowry to the other freshman. And blocked by Schindler. And the set, as it was a poor set, as Lowry decides to keep it alive, Quam to Veldman. The touch by Veldman is kept alive again. And the block again, and the miss hit. And that rally goes to the purple and the gold. As it's 21-12. And the Mavericks here are looking to get their largest lead, to tie it, actually, the largest lead of their afternoon for them. As it just seems to be the Mavericks' day. And as I say that, it goes right into the net. And that is a service error by Lowry. As Minnesota State in service errors is 5 compared to University of Mary's 2. This is a pretty even matchup as the mistakes by Minnesota State seem to have been quite matched by University of Mary, as Schindler there hits it into the corner, and that dive by Almeida proves to be nothing of such sorts, as that results into a point, and the Mavericks are 3 away from sweeping University of Mary here in Bresnan Arena in the Taylor Center. As University of Mary pulls a trick out of Michaela Porter's book, as instead of sending it, she just sends it right over. And here's Giovanna Almeida as she serves it right into the net. And that'll sit Quam down as Janzig comes back into the game along with Jane Sakowitz. That goes off the net and into Lowry, and that came up on Lowry as Lee and Sakowitz go sit down. And then Sydney Murphy is here to go and ready. And here's Schindler, and that's off a tip, kept alive by the University of Mary. Excuse me. And then that is sent into the ground by Garby as they are 1 point away from taking this match and putting a win into that column, as Minnesota State needs this win to help improve in the NSIC play. As Michaela Porter looks to put it away, and her serve is a good one. And there's Cruz. Tries to finesse, but there's a Maverick right there. And there's the point, and then the tip again. And that's sent over.